Good morning, and if you're tuning in for the first time, these are the Bedhead Chronicles, where I show up in my glorious bedhead of the day, just because this is the time that I have to do videos, and I'm just going to embrace the rawness of what it is to be human every single morning with you. So I've been posting this. This is day 9. So I made a decision to do a daily video 9 days ago. I wasn't sure I was actually going to post it or if I was going to wait till the first of the year, but here we are just a few days after Thanksgiving, and I'm going to be pushing this out to a few more platforms. So that's why I say if you're tuning in for the very first time, I'm moving this over to Substack and YouTube as well, beyond the Facebook platforms. And typically what I do is I just share an inspirational thought. I've been using often the Book of Awakening, which has daily insights and kind of like a daily devotional by Mark Nepo, or, I pull in studies and other things that strike my fancy, but essentially sharing some inspiration, some things that have helped me, sometimes just some rawness, and it's always with the hope that you could relate some level. I live to give permission, so part of why I do this is because you can do it too if you feel so called. It doesn't have to be glamorous. It doesn't have to be makeup tutorials or how to lose weight by eating only red meat, or whatever. I think it's about showing up in an authentic way, and it is that for me, and that's why I'm here in this space, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, is starting with what you have and starting where you are. Sometimes we get a grand vision of how we want to show up in the world and what we want to accomplish, and where we want to live, what we want to drive, kind of person we want to be with, how we want to look, those abs or that long lustrous locks. For me, a few years ago, I think it was 2023, I had for many years wanted to become a coach, and I got a job as a weight loss coach at a hospital clinic, essentially, and did that for 8 months before that clinic closed. But I essentially had the opportunity at some point to invest in a coaching course and really try to hit the ground running as a coach. And what I learned from that experience, because you might call it a failure. I don't call it a failure. But essentially I didn't really build a career in coaching like I thought I was going to. When I was willing to put that much money down and invest in myself at that level, I was able to get a few clients, and things just, what I had learned from the sales standpoint, it just didn't feel authentic. It just wasn't connecting with me. And it was a year or so later when I decided to start writing without any emphasis on the outcome. And so in 2025, I started posting a weekly blog, and then moved onto the Substack platform. I was posting there, have been posting there, continue to do that. And I realized at that time that, wow, writing is really what I'm passionate about, where I want to show up. I just never thought there was a way to monetize it. So why write? I'm never going to become a famous author. I think sometimes too, we hold ourselves back from the thing that we feel called to do because we can't justify it. Because in our society, it's about if it doesn't make you money or something, if it doesn't have some level of productivity, then it's not a worthwhile endeavor, particularly if it's something that you are putting a lot of time into, like I do with my weekly writing. But I learned for myself that this is more about creating a routine, and so wherever it goes, if it never does anything, if no one ever watches, if no one ever reads, it's about me showing up for myself daily and doing the thing that I feel called in my soul and in my bones to do. So I've been called to do the videos. I've been called to do a podcast. Sometimes and I make fun of myself. I'm like everybody else, and everybody is not. just in case you're wondering, everybody is not doing a podcast. There are a lot of people, but it's not everybody. So it's like working through those things in your brain. But what I was going to say about the coaching course that I took, it was more of a business accelerator. It felt like what I did was I got a really great pair of tennis shoes, really high-tech running shoes for a marathon. And even though I had those running shoes, my body wasn't ready to run a marathon. You know, it was still going to take some time. And I think sometimes we want to run before we learn how to even crawl or walk. So when I learned how to become a coach, essentially, and build a business around it, my nervous system wasn't ready for that. My belief system couldn't support that. And that's okay. I think, you know, there's like this fine line between imposter syndrome and actually being an imposter, right? You know, and I've worked with professionals who feel like imposters. You know, they're not authentic. They are out there like trying to make themselves look a certain way, do the things, all the right things, and making money at it. But they're not. You know, there's still that piece that, you know, they're out there running the marathon with the fancy shoes, but do they really have the endurance, you know, at the end of the day? I don't know. We don't need to talk about other people, but for myself personally, that is what I discovered in the process of trying to reinvent myself, trying to change my identity, trying to move into some, you know, fit myself into the mold of what I thought I should do, you know, trying to live my passions, but not really understanding that in a deeper way. And so that's where videos like this come in, where it's just about showing up in the realest and most authentic way. I have my days where I am absolutely dragging my body through the door. And, you know, I learned from bodybuilding for the course of 3 years. I did it for 5, but it took me 3 years to get on stage. You know, there were injuries, and there was COVID, and there was a divorce, and there was a bankruptcy, and you know, I kept at it. You know, there were setbacks and there were months I didn't work out really. But what I did learn was to drag my body across that threshold of the gym every single day, whether it felt like it was going to be a good workout or not. And eventually I got on stage and it was incredible. And I was determined to be on that stage, whether I was feeling good about it, whether I was at the perfect body fat percentage, you know, I was just going to do it, and I was going to celebrate that moment. And what was awesome is that I won it. You know, I won that show. I've only done one. Yeah. And that was enough for me. You know, I was encouraged to go on and do some other ones. And it's a lot of work, and it costs some money. So I was like, I'm going to take these abs and just go hang out on the beach if I'm going to spend another $1,500, you know. Anyway, so my point is that sometimes it's about just showing up daily, showing up for yourself in small ways, starting small, starting with what you have, your iPhone. If you don't have a tripod, I don't remember, this thing wasn't very expensive, got on Amazon, you know, and you may not be called to do videos, or, you know, and that's making an assumption on my part, but I truly believe that there is so much to be said for showing up daily. So I'm recording this on a windy Saturday in Arkansas. We're going to get some more cool weather and some rain. I spent part of this week in Florida, so I'm adjusting to being in winter again. Wherever you're tuning in from, I hope that you get a chance to enjoy the lovely weather of today. Get to step outside for a moment, and just wishing you all the best. And as always, I love your comments. I love when you reach out. I love when you share. And even if you need to say something mean, that's okay. You can. I mean, I've got blemishes. Ate sugar last week, and it shows. My body doesn't let me get away with that. So here we are. All right. Take care and namaste.